There it is, the Incertacetes.
Incredible. Keep the light steady, logging the behavior now.
Off the eastern coast of Japan, where the Ryukyu Islands trail south into the Philippine Sea, the ocean floor drops away into one of the deepest trenches on the planet. In 2022, a manned submersible called Limiting Factor descended into that darkness, nearly 9 kilometers down, into water under almost 1,000 times the pressure you're feeling right now at sea level. The crew wasn't expecting headlines. They were cataloging biodiversity, counting sponges, recording fish, doing the slow, careful work that rarely makes the news. Then, something pale and ghostly drifted past the camera. They filmed it. They filmed it again on a separate dive. And 4 years later, after consulting taxonomists across the world, nobody can tell you what it is. That sentence alone should feel strange. We've sequenced the human genome, photographed black holes 8 billion light-years away, and put rovers on Mars that can analyze rock chemistry without a human anywhere nearby. And yet here's a creature, filmed twice, in clear footage, that science can't even place in a phylum. Not a species, not a genus, a phylum. The most basic shelf in the entire biological filing system, the one that separates something like a jellyfish from something like a worm. This animal doesn't fit on any shelf at all. So let's actually look at what they found and why it's proven so stubbornly impossible to name. The expedition itself was thorough. Researchers from the University of Western Australia and the Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology spent 2 months aboard the research vessel DSSV Pressure Drop, working across 3 of Japan's deepest trench systems: the Japan Trench, the Izu-Ogasawara Trench, and the Ryukyu Trench. Over the course of the mission, they documented 108 distinct groups of organisms, an extraordinary haul for water this deep, this cold, and this far beyond the reach of sunlight. They found carnivorous sponges, quietly trapping prey at nearly 9,700 meters, the deepest such sponges ever directly observed. They found a snailfish feeding at a record 8,336 meters. They drifted across what the team called crinoid meadows, more than 1,500 stalked sea lilies anchored to bare rock at over 9,000 meters, swaying gently in currents nobody has ever watched in person. And then, at a depth of roughly 9,100 meters, the cameras caught the animal that would end up baffling everyone. It was pale, almost translucent, gliding slowly rather than swimming with any obvious propulsion. Its body appeared divided into 2 symmetrical halves with a pair of antenna-like projections extending from one end. At first glance, the team's instinct was reasonable. This looked like it could be a nudibranch, a type of sea slug, and specifically one called the alabaster nudibranch, a pale, ghost-white species already known to science. The resemblance was close enough that the initial working assumption leaned that direction. But the closer the footage was studied, the less that explanation held up. Other researchers consulted on the case pushed back almost immediately. The appendages, they argued, looked too rigid, too structured to belong to a soft-bodied nudibranch whose sensory organs are typically fleshy and flexible. Some specialists thought the body plan looked more mollusk-like overall. Others weren't convinced by that either. The team ultimately reached out to taxonomists across the world, hoping someone, somewhere, would recognize the body plan from prior fieldwork or museum specimens. Nobody did. In the end, the researchers did something biology only does when it's genuinely out of options. They labeled it Animalia incerta sedis, Latin for animal of uncertain position. It's not a real classification in the normal sense. It's closer to a formal shrug, a way of writing down in the scientific record that the filing system itself doesn't currently have a drawer for this. To understand how rare that actually is, it helps to know how classification usually works. Every animal on Earth fits into a kingdom, then a phylum, then progressively narrower categories: class, order, family, genus, species. Even when researchers find something brand new, they can almost always tell you the phylum on sight. A new beetle is obviously an arthropod, a new worm is some kind of annelid or nematode. The body plan gives it away immediately, the same way you can recognize a stranger as human without needing a name. What makes this creature different is that its body plan itself doesn't cleanly match anything on the list. The researchers weren't struggling to identify a new species within a familiar group, they were struggling to identify the group at all. This is what makes the discovery so much more interesting than just another rare animal added to a list. New species turn up constantly in deep-sea research, sometimes dozens in a single expedition. What's rare, vanishingly rare, is something that resists classification at the most fundamental level science has. So why does this kind of mystery still happen in 2026, with submersibles, high-definition cameras, and genetic sequencing all readily available? The honest answer comes down to access, not technology. The deep sea isn't poorly studied because we lack the tools. It's poorly studied because almost nobody can afford to send a crewed submersible to nearly 9,000 meters for 2 months at a time. And even when they do, the area of seafloor any single expedition can realistically cover is tiny compared to the scale of the ocean itself. The Hadal Zone, the term for trench environments below 6,000 meters, makes up a small fraction of the ocean's total area. But its difficulty to access means our cumulative knowledge of it remains thinner than our knowledge of the surface of the moon in some respects. This expedition alone, brief as it was, recorded the deepest confirmed sighting of carnivorous sponges and the deepest feeding snailfish ever documented. Genuine, basic firsts in 2026 simply because almost nobody had pointed a camera at that exact patch of seafloor before. Given that context, an unclassifiable animal stops feeling like an anomaly and starts feeling like a preview. If this is what turns up during one 2-month mission across 3 trenches, it raises an obvious question about everything else still sitting undisturbed and the roughly 27 other deep trenches scattered across the planet's ocean floors, most of which have never hosted a manned expedition at all. For now, the animal remains exactly what its name says it is: uncertain. The footage exists, the body is documented, the behavior, slow, deliberate gliding, has been described in detail. What's missing is simply a place to put it, a branch on the tree of life willing to claim it as a relative. Researchers haven't ruled out that future expeditions, or even a closer look at existing footage with new techniques, could eventually resolve the question. But as of right now, there's a confirmed, filmed, physically real animal living nearly 9 kilometers beneath the waves that doesn't officially belong to anything. If that doesn't change how you think about how much of this planet remains genuinely unmapped, it's worth sitting with for a second. We've drawn detailed maps of the far side of the moon. We still don't fully know what's drifting through the dark a few kilometers beneath certain stretches of ocean we sail over every single day. If stories like this make you want to know what else is still hiding down there, stick around, because trenches like this one are turning up new mysteries almost every year now. And I'm curious, if you had to guess what that creature actually is, even just a rough hunch, what would you call